think it's working. Thank God it's working.
Yes.
Godverdomme. Oh man. All right. So, okay, it's loading. Oh my God, I hate technology, man.
But also that's why we're able to do this.
It's working, but I'm not. That is true. That is very true. For some reason, though, when I check YouTube, it just switches between you and me back and forth. So I have the background, but you're just like you're not next to me on YouTube.
And what if we try to do it without the background, but just like the two, like a normal meeting? But if we see the two of
By the way,
us
just so you know, we're already live right now, just so you know. So everything that we're saying right now is already being recorded and broadcasted on the World Wide Web. Well, so in Zoom, you're sitting next to me. In YouTube, it switches back and forth. When I'm talking, then I'm in the shot, and when you're talking, you're just in a blank shot. So I propose that we fix that later, as we are already live now, and we just get cracking. So I want to say welcome everybody to yet another live session on my YouTube channel. This one is a very special one, a premiere for my channel. I'm actually doing it together with somebody else. So welcome, Elizabeth. We're going to be talking about how to stop feeling ugly. I know a lot of people following my channel struggle with self-image, with feeling ugly and not good enough. And Elizabeth, well, maybe you might want to introduce yourself to the people first before we get going, so they have a grasp of who you are in general.
Definitely. Thank you for having me. I'm really happy that we're sharing these conversations, that we hopefully are giving a different perspective about certain topics to the people that's watching. Elizabeth, I'm from Colombia, and I'm a brand experience consultant, which is actually designing how a brand interacts with the rest of the people and like subjects around it. And I'm also a coach. I work with spirituality, how to manage and learn to know what are your tools in your subtle body, in your energy, so that you can align with them for your best. And that's, I think, some of the things that we're going to be talking about like the person that you are and how you're feeling in the outside, and how can you manage it so that it can be in the best alignment possible for you to feel good in your body.
Absolutely. So I'm going to just start off with the first topic. Like I said, obviously, I have a lot of people watching me because they feel like I somehow have found the cheat code to overcome a physical setback, something that would cause many people to not want to leave the house and just stay inside. And I think a lot of people look to me because I was able to just kind of turn it around and still be able to live a happy life full of self-love and confidence. But I'm just going to start with a very general question to you, Elizabeth. Like, what would you tell someone that would just say, like, I have been struggling with the way I look for years, and I have just become a prisoner of my body and my looks, and nothing that I seem to do seems to work in terms of overcoming that burden of feeling that I'm not good enough for society, and I can't stop comparing myself to others and feeling less. What would you say to a person like that?
Well, I think that even before that, we have to understand that this concept of beauty, of what's beautiful and what is ugly, it's so subjective. Like, even if that person goes to a different country, which I'm not saying that's the solution for it, it's going to find a totally different perception of beauty, because you can tell it's also like a product. Our body is our home, is the place that we live in. But also, if you are a product, let's say that the body is the package of it, right? And if you see a package, you can't tell if the product is good or bad, right? It depends, you're gonna measure how good or how bad it is, depending on the functionality that you want to find in that specific product. So then again, it's like if you're measuring yourself in terms of comparing yourself with others in like certain very subjective, let's say like indicators of beauty that you learn, first step is like unlearn that. Let's redefine what's your definition of beauty so that you can define yourself based on your own definition, based on your own best self version, and not basing everything that you have learned from other people and society of how you should look like.
That's very interesting, because what you said about this metaphor, this analogy about packaging is such a good way to put it. And I even use that as a filter many times. So for example, in a literal sense, as you guys know, I'm into fitness a lot. So when I buy supplements, I will never buy the supplement that has like a very muscular man on the box, because I know that they are already gearing towards marketing and selling you a false image, selling you a dream. So I will go more for the simplistic, more serious, quote unquote, labels. But also with people, I found that I don't want to generalize, and please correct me, if I'm doing that. But when you meet somebody and immediately you can tell that they are very brand oriented. So for example, they have like a big brand on their chest, on their t-shirt, and then they'll have the expensive brand watch, the brand glasses, all those things. Like for me, I find that in most cases, again, I don't want to generalize, but in most cases, I have found that they use this as a sort of shield to shield their insecurity and to let their material objects do the talking for them. Like right off the bat, I can tell that it's often harder to connect with people like that because they want to send a strong message by the things that they wear. Whereas when you meet people who are more dressed or labeled, if you will, in a more neutral way, and people who don't care that much about external materialistic signaling, that they're often more interesting and more open to talk, and also in general just more sincere and honest. What would you say about that?
I say that you are not interested in these people because you're not their target, right? So that's exactly, and you're not interested in all those products that you are seeing with that publicity because you are not their target either, right? So the main thing, it's not even about like who's more interesting or like who's better to talk with, because what you're looking for, it's something totally different. So they are doing a great job about putting out there the image that's going to attract the type of people that they want to attract, so that they can have the type of connection and interaction they want to have. And the main thing here is just, I wouldn't say like, there's people that give much importance to that, and we shouldn't, because it can be a great tool for you to create those connections. Imagine there are amazing products out there that are doing a very bad job with packaging and are not being sold because they can't communicate that one message of the functionality it has. And the package will sometimes help you to buy the product the first time. But if it doesn't work, you're not going to keep buying it. But it definitely allows you to connect for that very first time with others. The main thing here is that you know enough who you are so that you know what you want to attract, and therefore you know how to use your physical body as a tool to communicate those things that you are and you want to communicate as your value.
Right.
That people can see you and can connect the dots, you know?
I'm very happy that you said that, because something that I tell my clients and just my watchers of my channel in general is you can also communicate with more than just your body and your external shell. Because let's face it, if you do have many things going against you on a physical level, it's going to be hard to be noticed. It's going to be hard to stand out and to attract somebody's attention. So to those people, I say, you are basically betting against the house. You are playing a game that you have no business playing. So you should probably shift your efforts from trying to communicate on an external level to communicate on a more creational level. And what I mean by that is you can also show people how you are and how you think and how you see the world through the things that you create. For example, if you paint a painting or you write a book in which you talk about your observations, or you start making Instagram posts, with not with pictures of you in it, but where you just put words together, and then you kind of like reach a new audience. People, when they see those creations of you, they will become intrigued by the person making those creations. A very simple example is just musicians. Like,
Absolutely.
you don't have to be a good-looking musician to be popular or sexy. It's like if a person listens to a song from another person and connects to that song on such a deep level where they feel like, wow, you were able to perfectly capture my emotions, my thoughts, that I'm going through right now. They don't care what you look like anymore. Very often people don't know what a musical artist looks like, but they already fall in love with that person before ever laying eyes upon them. So then when they meet them, they're just like, I adore you, I love you, regardless of how you look, And I think that's a great example of that, and also something that you really hit the nail on the head with right now.
Yeah, I love that. And it's, again, such a beautiful, amazing tool. Because just as you were saying, let's say that musicians are great and you can fall in love with a person for their voice. But somehow, if you're walking in the street, you see a person going by, you're not going to know right away if that's a musician right there, right? So, for example, if there's a musician and you're in a train and this person has a guitar and it's sitting in front of you, that's going to open the possibility of a conversation like, hey, do you play the guitar? So see how you can use these things that are actually physical, but
Yes.
talk so much about the person that it's allowing you to see them around you. For example, for instance, I just got this, like, this is a ring that I normally wear. And for somebody that it's not like, let's say, in the energetic or spiritual world, it's just a ring. But it has opened so many conversations for me, because like people that know what it is, which is like a symbol of energy and the spiritual world, can immediately see it, and it's gonna tell me like, hey, I like your ring. Where did you get it? Or like, what do you do even? So it's also about knowing that, just, I love to make these comparisons with brands, because there can be an amazing product out there, but if you have never seen it, you're never going to use it or buy it.
Right.
You need to see it at least for one first time. You need to know that it exists in your world, so that you can read what it is for, so that you can buy it, so that you can try it. And if you like it, you decide if you like it or not, you can keep buying it and using it.
Exactly.
Same, you need to put yourself out there and kind of communicate who it is that you are, so that people can start interacting with you. And then first step is like, you need to know yourself, who you are, so that you can communicate it. And you make sure you're not communicating something you're not.
Absolutely. And you just said it so well. You have to put yourself out there. And that's something that I've been preaching since day one, is that you have to be the one to push that first domino. You have to be the one to put things in action, and not just about finding people that maybe you can find and connect with in a friendship level or romantic level, but with everything in life. By staying at home, by staying in your safe place, nothing is going to get accomplished. You have to put yourself in a position to get lucky. And the only way you can do that is by going out there. And now also, not just going out there in the physical sense, but going out there in the context of the internet. Like, we've been blessed to live in this time where a Belgian creator can have a live conversation with a Colombian creator, like, how amazing is that? But not just for us, but with everyone. Like, you really have to try to express yourself on as many as different channels as you possibly can, fire on all cylinders, and put yourself out there. Like, at the end of the day, you do have to, quote unquote, advertise yourself to a certain extent in order for you to be able to find someone that can actually like you. It's like, you can never know that you can be the best tasting ice cream in the world, but no one is ever going to know if they can't try a scoop of ice cream. Oh, maybe that sounds too sexual. That's not my point. I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? Like, people have to know that you exist in order for them to be able to like you.
Definitely, definitely. And it's also about you. Once you go out there and you try to find all these things, who you are, and like trying yourself in those different environments, you are also going to be finding things about yourself that you didn't know. It is about also exploring. It's almost like I see it from the perspective like if my soul decided to be this woman, Colombian, with this family, with all these little things that you were born with. There are many things that happen through life that you don't decide, that you get to decide, or like that life puts you there. But the package that you come with, like these little tools that are your culture and these things that are like, let's say, like intrinsic to you. How can you play with them so that you can make the best out of this character that you decided to be in this lifetime? How can I play? Like, you can even go tomorrow, everything that has defined you, you can go to a different city tomorrow and just be a complete different person. And then just like, who's gonna know who you are? You are the one who needs to know what is it that fits the best your character. What is it that you are inside that makes you the happiest? What is it that is your best version, so that you can accomplish it and like connect how it looks externally, how it feels internally, and the vibe that you share through that you're showing. Because somebody that's looking good doesn't mean that you want to spend time with them, and somebody that's looking, let's say, not that good, it doesn't mean that you don't want to spend time with that person. It's a complete different concept.
Absolutely. And also understand that there is no such thing as a one universal beauty standards. Beauty standards are different anywhere you go. And I am living proof of that. When I was growing up, and this is before cancer, I was a normal, not bad looking Belgian young man. And I struggled greatly to connect with Belgian women. This was always something that for me, I don't know why, but it was always hard for me. I didn't never quite found the right flow, the right frequency. And then I started seeing that when I started traveling around 16, 17. Anytime I would travel, my life would be so vastly different. Like, we would go out with a group of friends to a different country, and all of a sudden I would be the one having a lot of female attention. Also, in parts due to the fact that we would have to speak English. And that's why I encourage people to travel, not because it's only about the different locations and the different beauty standards, but it's because if you are forced to speak a different language, you become a different person in different languages. And this is a real thing.
Yeah.
Dutch-speaking Lorenz, I'm not Dutch, obviously, Dutch-speaking Lorenz is not English-speaking Lorenz. And sure as hell is not Spanish-speaking Lorenz, because, for example, when I speak Spanish, this is by far the most playful version of me, and it seems to resonate well with people who speak Spanish as their native language, because they think it's funny. They appreciate that I'm trying to speak it, and they see that I'm very like vulnerable and open, because to me, the words have a little bit less, I don't want to say they have less meaning, but because I just like the way it sounds, I like to have fun with it. And as a result, I come across much more, in a sense, I guess, even more confident, sometimes even flirtatious, or just fun in general. Whereas if you would hear me speaking in Dutch, and if you were to understand Dutch, I'm much more serious and strict, and
I can imagine.
maybe cold. Absolutely, absolutely. Because, for example, in Belgium, we don't say "I love you" to our family. Like, it's just not done. It's weird. You would never say, I would never tell my mom, and I know this sounds horrible, but in Belgium, where I'm from, I don't say to my mom, I love you, or Dad, I love you. It would be so awkward and weird. Like, we can't say those words. But for example, in English, it's like, oh, I love you. It's like, it's fine. I don't care. Like, it doesn't have that sting, it doesn't make me feel
And in
awkward.
Spanish, we say it all the time.
in Spanish, it's like you say "I love you" to the bakery, like the guy who's standing behind the counter. It's like
Yeah.
it's normal. It's actually funny. I was not to get sidetracked, but I just like I told you, I had a very good friend here. Also happens to be from Colombia last weekend, and we were talking about that, and I was asking him. I say, but how does this work? You know, because in Spanish, you use these words like "te amo," "te quiero," bonita, guapo, guapa. Like in Spain, people call each other guapo and guapa without even knowing each other. It's just something you say. And for those who don't know
Yeah.
what guapo and guapa means, it means beautiful. So people will call you like, hey, beautiful, like literally without ever having met you. And I was asking him, like, all right, like this is great and it's fun and I like it, but what do you do when you are actually with someone that you really like and that you want to be intimate with and you want to express that you really, you know, love them or have feelings for them or think they're beautiful, but basically you've already used up all of your ammunition because you've already said guapo and guapa and bonita, bonita to everyone around you. So what do you tell them? I asked him. And he told me, interestingly enough, he said, well, if I'm with a woman that I really like and it's really sincere and deep and serious, I say her name. I say her
Okay.
name because then she that and for me it was so like interesting how it's like a backwards effect where obviously in Belgium we say the name, that's our standard, like we say the name,
Mhm.
you know, and then it's like when you take it again back to a level where it's very like more serious and not no nickname, then it's like understood. Also he said that it's not just like playing around, which I thought was incredibly interesting.
Wow, definitely. I mean, and hearing you talking about this, it's like me realizing this thing that I have been through my entire life because that's what I grew up with about people calling each other beautiful, handsome, and it's like the normal mi amor. It's like you get in a taxi cab and the driver is gonna call you my love the first moment when you enter the cab. But something that I would add to what he said is that when you really like someone, you are going to express different, like you use the same words but you know like this flavor in your voice and it gets like slower or like you emphasize what you really want to say. It's this difference between when something comes from your heart and you feel like the expression and the emotion in what you're saying in it, and it's totally different than when you're just saying it as a nickname or calling someone that because it's just like the nature of it. And that show us that it's not about the words, it's about the intention you put on them. You
Mm,
know, it's about how you use them. And it's again the same with the physical body. I know that it sounds really cliche about people talking like about people smiling and having a great attitude, but it's again that with this conversation, it's not about the body or the physical look, it's about the attitude, how you use it. There's people that's really beautiful in certain standards, but they are just like you see them and they don't even seem happy being in
mm,
that one body. They seem just like very serious or sad or like it's almost you can see actually if you have ever seen a dead body, you can see that there's not a person anymore and it's still the same body, but you feel that the energy is missing and you can't like feel the flavor on it in the person in the soul. And then again it's there's people that it's
mm.
living as if they were dead because they are not using this tool that we have which is so precious and is our home, that is our body. And is
Yes,
how can you expect others to have fun being in your house if you're not having fun being in your own house, if you're not cleaning it and taking care of it.
absolutely. And I think that a smile and bright eyes are also like a very strong signal. It's like an open invitation that you're open to conversation. And this is something also that I learned. Um, I when I first moved to Barcelona, which was my first time, not my first time living in a big city, but really like a big city that is like one of the centers of the world. And something I noticed is because I'm always looking at people, I'm always observing, is that I would encounter so many women just on the streets and in general situations, beautiful looking people, but they would never smile. And I would always think, wow, they immediately look so much less beautiful when they don't smile. And I wouldn't understand it. I would always think, why are they so angry at life? And why, like they obviously have been lucky to be looking the way they do. So why
Yeah.
do they do that? And then I remember talking to a friend, a female friend, about this. And I said, but why do so many girls in the city not smile? Like, I don't get it. And then she explained to me that a lot of women, they just, especially women that are very good looking, but also just women in general, um, if they smile, they just constantly get approached by men. It's like this big green light to say like, hey, please come hit on me, please come say something. And then they kind of like, because they get so many inquiries, like just all the time, which obviously can be extremely annoying, that they just kind of learn to put on this so-called resting, excuse me, this so-called, I learned about this word, it's called the resting bitch face. I'm not sure if you heard of it.
Uh-huh. No, I
Right.
haven't.
So,
But I
right.
can
So
imagine what it
you
is
can,
about.
yeah. You can Google it. So it's called, for people who don't know, it's called a resting bitch face. It's a real thing. I swear I'm not making this up. And it's basically the face that they make to say like, hey, don't like, just,
Wow.
I'm living my life. I'm on my way to work. I'm on my way to an appointment. Like, don't come and flirt with me, or don't come to say like, hey, what's up? And then again, I understood that there's always not two, but three sides to every story. My initial judgment, if you will, was like, oh, well, why are they so, like this? And I don't understand. But then, of course, if you put yourself in their position, I can completely understand. So and what we can take away from that is that our face, our smile, our eyes are such a strong transmitter. So for the people who are struggling with their identity and how they look like, I think we should give the advice that you have to keep smiling. You have to keep that faith and keep that positivity going, because this is the way up. Like, this is the way for people to still see that you are a positive, loving human being that is worth talking to and spending time with. And I think that the moment that we stop transmitting this energy and smiling, and that's when we usually look our ugliest, and that's when we really put ourselves in the worst possible position we can in order to meet new people.
Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know about that word, but I totally get the concept. And I also think that it's very sad that most of the time we use that physical appearance, just that's something that we connect with, like a significant other, like romance, or like how you attract others, let's say like men or women, or like the people that you're interested in, because it is actually about how you are part of the environment and how you can make it more beautiful. It's not, I don't think that there's a flower in the middle of the of like como un bosque. How do you say bosque?
Like woods? You mean the
Yes,
woods?
not yes. There's
The
not a
forest?
flower in
The
the middle
forest?
of the sea. There's not a flower in the middle of the forest. Just like, oh, I'm going to be beautiful right here, so that the birds can come my way. It is just there, knowing that it has a place in the forest, and it's making it beautiful for the bird, for the trees, for the people that's walking around. So it's also about you knowing that it's not always in that defensive way, or of how is people going to interact with me, but what is it that I can bring into every single place I walk in, that it's going to make it brighter and more beautiful, and what is it that I'm going to share with the world by putting my presence out there. Because just by you being present in a place, in a situation, in a position, wherever you are, you're already making part of that environment. So how can you share that beauty that you have? How can you look at someone in the eyes, and actually, if you are feeling sometimes that you're not being recognized for the way that you look, ask yourself, how many times do you recognize the others? Not even for the way that they look, but also for the attitude they have. I love telling people, hey, you have a beautiful smile. Oh, you look so happy. It's like, and there's people just like walking, and, or I love how colorful your dress is. I love, I don't know, like, oh, you really, I love to see that you're like sporty and like enjoying this beautiful day, you can also compliment people about the energy they bring into the space that you're sharing with. And then you're going to be also more aware of what is it that you're putting out there when you share yourself with someone else.
I think I'm going to ask a question that I'm sure many people are going to be wondering. How do you deal with that as being a woman yourself? When you put yourself out there in the world, and obviously I know you as a very positive person, always smiling, always happy. So how do you differentiate between people looking like, how do you react when people would approach you in the sense of, hey, I just want to appreciate like the fact that you're being a light in this world and that you're obviously in a great mood, between people that see that as a sign that you are open to people to come flirt with you or make romantic remarks or things like that. And does it ever upset you? Or do you ever feel like, I don't feel like this right now, or I wish I could just be myself without having to deal with this because I'm a woman?
I definitely think that we come back to communication. And that is something, it's not even only about your smile, but let's talk about the way that you stand, the way that you own yourself, the way that you put yourself out there. It's so different. The position that you have with your body, the position that you have with your hands, the position in which you are walking. All these things communicate so much. And as I know that you're not only in touch with people when you talk with them or when they touch you, we have an energy field, which is like much more larger around us, and we interact, and like when you have these two circles and they come together and there's like information that they have in common, when you're sharing spaces with people, you already share energy with them, even if you're not interacting physically. And there people can grasp a lot of the energy that you are putting, and like just the fact that you're being open for people to feel comfortable to communicate with you, and that you can own your truth and you don't have to be offense. I don't know. It's like, I also see it as if somebody approaches me from a place like of interest in a way that I'm not interested in, I can totally say it and I can speak out there and I can share, hey, I'm not interested in that, but I definitely do appreciate the way that you see me or the way that you're trying to connect with me. Always when it's something beautiful, when somebody tells me like, hey, beautiful, good morning, I smile back because that's beautiful that people is like sharing those things with you. When it's something that it's not good, when it's something that it's ugly, I also stop and I look at them, and I have, like, here in Colombia is very sad, but it happens a lot. Like some men will come and tell you very ugly things, like mostly sexual stuff and like harassing you. And then also, as I do think when people tell me beautiful things, also when people tell me nasty things, I stop and I look at them in the eyes, because I know that the normal attitude would be to keep walking and not even look at them. But I know that that's not good. Like, I know that this is something that has to stop. So I look at them in the eyes and I was like, can you repeat what you said, please? Never they have repeated. And I'm not being like nasty with them. I'm just like, please be respectful. If you can say that in my back, then say it again, looking into my eyes. And it's just you owning who you are, owning and being able to communicate it. Again, there's a reason why the packages have like the nutritional information in the back side of the package, and like there's more information in case you need to know more than in just the front that you saw. So let's open the communication. Let's share with others what we see in them. If you see someone that looks sad or like looks down, just smile to them. That's the best thing that you can do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I also think a very big factor of this is just for us to maximize our strengths. Like, even though you're not good looking in the traditional sense, I think it's important for us to redefine what beautiful means, like what attraction means. I think too many of us follow an idea that we see in the media and on social media, on Instagram, things like that, where it's like, often I think that the things that we see on television or in the media in general are not really the beauty standards that people have in their in for themselves. And I think that beauty in that sense is also very, very subjective. And
Mhm.
people have to learn to have the confidence to be able to not put full faith and trust in the beauty standard that is being shown to us through the media every single day, because that's just not reality. Like the same with women. I have many female friends, and they all seem to think that all men just love skinny women for whatever reason. And I have many male friends that I know who love women that are not skinny. Like they do exist, but of course, this is not what you hear in the media or you see anywhere. It's not really talked about. But often, I think that we're all striving to be. We all have this like ideal in our head because there's just a few people that we follow as a society, and we think, okay, those are the those are the ones, like those are the popular ones, so we have to try to look like them. But then for the individuals, like the real people, there's two worlds. There's what I call the fake world, which is basically the like the media, and then there's the real world. And in the real world, things are never as bad as they seem, in that other world where we are constantly comparing ourselves to these celebrities or people that just put up Photoshop pictures or use certain procedures to look crazy, to look so out of this world. But you have to, I think it's important for people to understand at home, like you're not competing with those people. And guess what? Those people don't even look like that in real life. And I feel like
That's so true.
this is something that's still not talked about enough. Like everybody says like, yeah, I know Instagram is not real. I know it's fake, but do you really? Because I don't think, most of us do. Like I fall in that trap myself. I catch myself sometimes comparing and thinking like that's obtainable or that's normal. And it's like, no, man, this not like we are just looking at a few individuals, whose job it is to literally look like they are not from this planet. But then, something that I would recommend people to do is who seem to think that the world is just like that the world is like Instagram. Take a chair, or like just go sit on a terrace in like any occupied street, like a street with a lot of people passing, like a shopping street, whatever, in any type of city. Take a look, like really take a look for 1 hour or even 30 minutes at the people walking by you. And you will see that like 99% of us are just, we're all average, if you compare, if you're talking about what we call beauty, like you don't see these people that you see on your feed, like they don't seem to exist because they don't really exist. Like
Yeah.
that's something that always strikes me when I take a look around in the world. It's like all of us are kind of normal, like we're all just like, none of us are perfect, man. Like where are these people that I see on my phone? Like I never see them in real life. I swear to God, I never met
Yeah.
one of them.
That's totally as you're saying it. And the funniest thing is that in every single area of your life, have you heard this? That the only people that judge you is the people that's doing less than you. If someone is doing greater than you, they are not going to judge you. But then when just as you are saying it, the way that you can approach it so that you can measure yourself in terms of yourself and not in comparison to others is that many times when you're judging yourself is because you know you can do better. It's because you're not investing what you know that you can invest. So there's a gap between this best version of you that you know you can reach and the actual version of who you are right now. And if you measure that gap, that's going to give you the sense of how good are you feeling in your body right now. Because if you are working towards it, let's say that you are taking care of your skin, you're eating healthy, you're breathing, you are getting a little bit of sun, you are taking care of this place that you habitate, you can still look the same, but you're gonna feel much better because you're putting the effort, because you're taking care of it. But you can be looking amazing out, but if you know that you're like going further from that best version you can be, you're going to be harder on yourself. So it's mostly about how coherent are you being with what you're putting in your own body, how you're showing up for yourself. That's how like hard we get with ourselves. The more
Absolutely.
you invest in something, the more you're going to appreciate it.
Absolutely. Elizabeth, I'm seeing in the chat box that obviously you can see some questions. So I would love to ask some questions right now to you, and I'll also chime in
Of course.
because we have a few people watching us right now. So LSRSLT says, sometimes I feel incredibly ugly and sometimes I feel incredibly attractive. I just want some consistency in how I view myself. Any tips for better self-assessment?
Again, I think that comes to what we just said. When we are feeling extremely ugly, is that we are very far from how good we think we can get. Have you seen there's people, for example, that get a certain payment, and the same amount can be the greatest for someone who has like lower expectations and they feel great about that job and it's their dream job. And there's other people that have higher expectations, and with that same job or salary, they're gonna feel bad about it, right? So there's a myth that people that it's looking good, it's feeling great, and people that's not looking as good are feeling bad. There could be people that's looking amazing and that they're feeling very bad about their bodies and their self and their shame. And there's people that's not looking as well and it's feeling great in their bodies and it's like super empowered and owning their body. And I would say that it is again about connecting, first of all, with what is it that it's inside of the body. The body is the vehicle, but the gasoline that moves it is the connection that you have with your inner self. Breathing. Master the simple things, breathing, being present, connecting really with what it is that you need right now, what it is that you are here in this world to share. What is it that it's your gift to the world so that you can share it with others? And also, when you're feeling like you don't want to share with others, then just go inside. There are times where you're not gonna feel like going out and like wearing high heels and so on. You just probably wanna stay at home and being with yourself. Again, the practice of smiling. Even if you're not feeling good, smile, and you're gonna feel the shift in your body. If you're not feeling that beautiful, just if you're a woman, for example, wear high heels, and that's gonna help you. It's incredible, but those are things that by doing them, you don't feel great to do them, but once you do it, you start feeling greater. Well, how do you see that? What is it that you do when you're not feeling at your best?
What I do? Oh man, that's a good question. When I'm not feeling at my best, I think in my case, I deal with my problems, or when I'm feeling stressed, I run to the gym. That's kind of like my sanctuary, and because my body, I always feel it like my body's easy to control. Like I can't control my emotions all the time, and I can't control the things that happen to me in my life. But when I go to the gym and I do the work that I always do, and I have the right nutrition, I know that I'm always going to have that foundation. That's why I always preach about taking care of your body, as it is one thing that will never betray you, and one thing that you will never have a day in your life where you will say, oh, I wish I would have spent less time getting in shape, or I wish I would not have spent so much time working out. You know, it's something that always, it's like my best friend. So I would say that's what I do in general. And of course, you know, just my family. Like I will turn to people that just, where I don't have to perform, or where I don't have to impress them to get them, you know, to receive love or respect. So, you know, that
Yes.
is definitely something that I also do.
Investing, the first part about the gym, it's also about investing in it. You can see that the things that we invest in are the things that we appreciate the most. I practice yoga, and what yoga has taught me is the way that the body connects with the mind and with the soul. It's like there's a day that I can do a headstand. It's because I'm balanced. But if there's something unbalanced in my life, I can't do the headstand. I can be super flexible one day, but the other day I look like a robot. I feel like a robot in my yoga practice. And it immediately tells me, like, what are the areas in your life where you are not being flexible? And that I can see in my body. So connecting with it, what is it? What is it that is not looking as I want it to look in my life? And therefore, I
Exactly.
have this connection with my body.
And also, you said something very interesting about, looking for, you said, I believe, looking for what you have to offer, or what it is that you're looking for on the inside. And I think way too many people put having a partner on a pedestal. I don't think it should be our goal anymore. We are not in a position anymore where the faith of our tribe, depends on us procreating. That used to be the case. Like, find a mate and make babies, because otherwise we're not gonna
Mhm.
survive. But we are now in a luxury position where I think people should really work on themselves more, instead of always looking for that person to be the missing piece of the puzzle. Because I feel like when people say ugly, and they feel ugly, I also feel like that they're saying people make me feel ugly, or I'm too, it's usually in the context of I'm too
Mhm.
ugly to be with somebody. I'm too ugly to have many hot girls, or I'm too ugly to have a good looking man. But if we could take away this goal of always needing to be with somebody, and having somebody like on our side, I think a lot of people would stop caring so much about this whole beauty thing. Because beauty is like, for many cases, is why is a flower beautiful? Because it needs to attract the bees, to come in and take the not the seeds, but the stuff from the flowers, and take it to the other
Yeah.
flowers. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not.
yeah.
Can you tell that biology was my best class? No. So, and that's the thing. Like, I think if we can just remove this topic of, and this constant objective of, I need to find a partner, I need to get laid, I need to have sex, because otherwise I don't have value. I think
Mhm.
that people can already make very big steps forward if they can just stop focusing on this stupid goal. Like, this is also the reason why many people choose to stay in abusive relationships. People would rather be with
Mm.
somebody that physically or mentally abuses them than to be single again, because society just condemns being single. It's like, you're sick, something is wrong with you. No, we should embrace being single. We should embrace having the power, the self-respect, and the self-love to stand on our own 2 feet and be content with that, instead of always looking for somebody to validate us. And I
Oh
think
my
this is
God, that's
really,
so true.
you know and I think this is a big factor in that. Like, what is beauty? And I think if you really ask people, if they give you an honest answer, they will always connect beauty to being desired by people.
That's so true what you're saying, and at the same time, like, have you been in these places? There are places that you go and it is like a beautiful place, but you feel awkward in that place. It's like you don't want to stay there. And there are places like you go to your auntie house, which is like a super simple house, small, and you just feel like you want to stay and live there because you enjoy being there. And there's definitely not a connection between the physical beauty and the relationships, but there is between the chemistry and those relationships. It's about, I think that we have all been in a date with someone that looks really good and you want to go home. Like you can't wait to go home because there's no connection. There's like awkward silence. It's like you're not feeling good. And we have all dated someone that your friends are probably like, what did you see in him? Like like what is it? Or like what did you see in her? And you can't explain, but you find this person just the most delicious, beautiful human being on earth. And I would connect that with how fun are you to be around. And if
Mm,
you have fun with being with yourself, then others are going to have fun being around you as well. If you
Yes.
have your own home as a place where you feel comfortable hanging around with yourself, a place that you enjoy living in your body, then others are going to feel very welcome in that place. You know that when your house is super disorganized, you don't want to receive anyone in your house because you don't want them to see that. But when you have it clean and beautiful, you can be a great host. Same with
And
your body.
absolutely. And that's, you hit the nail right on the head. Like, people, please stop, stop working on yourself simply to find and attract someone. Work on yourself for you. Make your own life more interesting.
Mhm.
Make your personality more interesting for you, not just to, you know, catch somebody, catch them in your web, because you can never own anyone. Like, this is also why, the other day, I was reading somebody complain about this, saying that, oh my God, nowadays everybody cheats. Everyone, there's so much disloyalty and cheating going on. And it's like, well, probably there is a direct correlation between people painting a certain image of themselves on social media. They're training themselves to be a certain way, to, quote unquote, I don't want to say capture, but seduce somebody and have them be their partner. But then that other person find out after a while, like, well, you're really not all that interesting or fun, to begin with. Like, it was all kind of like a mirage that I fell in love with. It was like an illusion. And not just that, but I think also people need to start realizing that you need a plan for after you have found the one.
Mhm.
Like, what are you gonna do? Like, do you think it's gonna be that easy, like a Disney movie? Like, you find the person, that wants to be with you, and you're with them, and then all the issues and the problems in your life are over? No, guess what? It's just starting. Like, life is vastly harder with two people than it is with one, because now you have two sets of emotions, two sets of opinions, and everything becomes more complicated in a good way, but also sometimes in a bad way. Like, this is just a reality. Like, relationships require a lot of hard work, sacrifice, and communication. And trust me, in a lot of ways, yeah, you get a lot from it and you get a lot out of it, but you also have to give a lot more than when you're just living by yourself and doing everything the way you want to do it. So stop making this the ultimate goal, and please don't think that this is going to be the end all solution to all of your problems. Like, all your problems will still be there, and they will still come back to haunt you. So don't focus on being able to get somebody to fall in love with you, but just focus on being a person that you can stay with yourself for the rest of your life, knowing
Okay.
and being content with who you are.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. So much wisdom in what you just shared. And I agree that that's probably why relationships are so short now, also because it's like it is short enough for you to just get to know the more superficial areas of myself. But when you're going deeper and deeper in all these rooms that are within myself that I haven't cleaned up, then I don't want you there. I just want you to see the ones that I show to everyone. And if you go very deep, no, I haven't worked on that one, so don't come so deep because that's something that I don't even want to see it myself. So why will I share it with you? And the deep of relationships is I recognize you, I see you, I hear you, and I accept you as you are because I know that you are being transparent. And the only thing that can hurt us from somebody else is our own expectations of us. Because when we create these expectations, that's gonna make us at some point wanna change or control the other person. When you're just in a place where there's transparency from both sides in any type of relationships, you know that your expectations can't be something else than a line to what you are seeing, and you know that you're seeing somebody else's truth as you are sharing your truth, and that's really
Absolutely.
last time when
Elizabeth.
you're accepted.
Yes, absolutely. Elizabeth, I have another question from you, from Michelle Rivera. Sounds like she's from your part of the world.
Probably it sounds like.
So she asks, in the dating world, I am constantly met with rejection. But when I do get attention, I do not know how to handle it and I shy away from it. So I don't know how I should feel.
Ah, I think this goes so much deeper. These are the type of things that in the energy field you can measure the frequencies, and you can actually go and find, there's this scale of consciousness where you're going to find all the frequencies from love, and the lowest is shame and guilt. When you're feeling these things, there's many people that could tell you like, oh, so you are going to start like standing, and it's going to give you techniques to answer text or like to keep building a conversation. If you really want to heal this, you need to go further and find the root cause of it, right? So you have two different sensations and emotions that you described in your commentary. The first one was rejection, and the second one was like shame. The first one, you're going to write it down and you're going to remember, when was it in your childhood that you felt rejected? And all the things that are keeping you, like that, all the feelings that come when you think of that first time when you were being rejected. Because probably what you're doing and what you're projecting out there is a pattern that you have, probably with the masculine, that you know that, oh, every single time that I get connected with someone, they reject me. Or you can see it not even in your own life, but what is it that you saw in your parents or in the people around you related to rejection? How does it make you feel? And how can you heal it from that space where you learn it? Because it's something, it's a program that it's running in your mind unconsciously. And then again, the other one that you were sharing was shame. Why is it that you feel afraid about going further in a connection with this man that is approaching you? And then you're going to find again a program of the result that you have seen in when you were a child, or like when you were younger. What were you seeing in the relationships that were close to you that happened when a woman was accepting a guy to approach them? What was the end result? Probably you didn't seem like very loving relationships. So that's why you're rejecting it, because, oh, a relationships means this and this and this. So that's your way of protecting yourself from going away from it. So I will definitely, there are advices all around internet about how can you create a great conversation, how can you stay in touch with someone, how can you be more attractive, like stand like this, move your hands like this. If you really want to heal it, find out what is it that you're running away from in your childhood, and like really try to heal it from that root cause.
Absolutely. So this obviously confirms also, my belief that most of our current and actual and daily behaviors stem from the way that we were treated in the past, or things that we used to see growing up, and then subconsciously we have not processed those things, and they continue to harm us and sabotage us in our daily realities. So what do you think is the best way for people to work on that? Like, is it to start working on that by themselves? Is it to get professional help and work with somebody? Is it to read books? Like, what do you think is the most accessible solution to that? Because I think a lot of people, they need like that initial push to get to get to this place where they can actually make changes. I think a lot of people confuse listening to people talk about, listening to people give advice, and they confuse this with actually taking that advice and making changes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's not because you're consuming a lot of content about self-love, and because every morning, during breakfast, you put on a live stream of Buddhist sounds and temple sounds, that it's actually gonna actively change your life. Like, what would you say, like, in a very functional and concrete way, like what should be the first steps for these people? For example, yoga, could this be a good gateway to that, or what would you recommend?
Just as with the body, why do you go to the doctor? How the doctor knows how to heal you? because the first thing that a doctor learns is how the body functions at its best. A doctor knows how all the systems in your body are supposed to work. And your body, naturally, it's a healthy body. So the doctor, it's always helping you to go back to that state of health, which is your nature. That's what they do when they heal you. Again, with your subtle body and your energy body, with your emotions, your nature is to be healthy, your nature is to be happy, your nature is to have healthy relationships, to have great communication, to be open, to feel at peace and harmony. And in the places where that is not the case, there's something to be healed. In the places where you're not feeling as you naturally should, there's something to be healed. So you need to go and see what was it, what was this incident, what was it that caused that structure in your emotional body to break, so that you can actually heal it from that place. Definitely finding help, finding someone that can help you go through those layers and go deeper and deeper is the best people can do. But if I could recommend something as a practice that we can do all the time when we are not feeling at our best, is detaching yourself from the one having the experience and becoming the observer. So detaching yourself from being the one who is seeing that a person is approaching her, and then it's being, I'm the one who's being rejected, but put yourself out there and observe the situation. Observe, there's this person that comes and meets this woman, and this woman gets scared and it starts doing these actions because she's afraid of what? And then you're going to find an answer. And what made her have, like, what was the trigger for that feeling to come? And then it's going to be an answer. And what is it that she's protecting herself from? And there's going to be an answer. When you're observing yourself without attaching to your own feelings, because that's gonna, like, put your mind in so many places, and your mind is always going to be trying to protect you. Being the observer, detaching from the mind, it's going to allow you to see what is the game and the program running behind the actions that you are creating and doing.
This is a personal question, Laura, about you, that I'm sure that the people also would love to know. Like, what was for you, Elizabeth, the turning point? Like, when was it in your life that you decided that you wanted to go more in this direction, and that you became more aware of certain things in your past maybe being unresolved? Was it a certain incident? Was it moving from one place to another? Or like, what caused you to, like, see the light, in a sense?
There were many things, and thank you for asking this. Like, that's a part of my story that I don't share often. There were many things that led me to this, and it started by a call in myself. I was living, I have been living in different parts of the world, but I always had this feeling inside, like, I know there's something like greater I need to explore. I know there's something inside, and I was trying and making these projects and going here and there and trying to find what to study. And I was just like, I know that I made to create a bigger impact in the world. And I just had the call, and I started, like, the opportunities started to show up about meditation and going deeper and studying myself. And I had one mystical experience through meditation. I was in a meditation in downtown Medellin. It was like 200 people meditating at the same time, and it was sound healing, and we were meditating for the peace of my city, in a place where there was a lot of violence some years ago. And in this meditation, I tell you, Lawrence, I left my body. I felt my body literally going out, like my soul going out of my body and flying around the city. And I was like seeing myself down there. It was like, oh my God, what's going on? When I came back, I was just having fun and peace. It was so peaceful and delicious. But when I came back, I couldn't talk. I was in shock. I just left my body. And these mystical moments, when you connect with yourself, I found that these are the moments that you can't explain, but I know I don't need anyone to believe, because I know what I went through, because that's my truth. I can't explain it, and it's very
Absolutely.
difficult to put it in words. because then I don't need my mind. The mind needs to understand because it needs a reason to believe what it wants to believe. But the heart doesn't need to understand, doesn't need to explain because the heart knows. Why would the heart need explanations if it knows its truth? It doesn't need reasons to believe. So finding these mystical moments that I can't explain through different practices, it is what it is my truth. It's like I can't deny it. It's like there's no way back. I just know that there's something greater and beautiful, delicious, beyond that you can experience, and it's within yourself. You have access to those things. You just need to be an explorer of yourself, like finding what are those places that you can get to.
And I think it's so beautiful what you just said, and I really appreciate you sharing that, because you said a few times, like, I don't care if people believe me or not, because you're right. It's not about that. What basically happened to you is, and for me, the fact that you said you saw yourself and you were flying above the city, those are just like details, because the essence of what you those are just like those are not that important, because the essence of what you said is basically you understood in that moment, right then and there, that there is so much more than the things that we choose to see and focus on. Like, I feel like all of us human beings, and this is something that I realized already a while back, we are maybe using and choosing to look at 5% of the things that are out there. And I think that mankind as a whole has always realized and known that there's so much out there that we cannot explain and that we cannot put into a box and description. And I think in that sense, religion has played a big part. We have used religion in many times, I think, to just, it's like, okay, everything that we can prove, anything that's not science, that's God, that's religion. We'll just put it in that box. And now we're rid of it because religion is safe and it's with us. So it's okay. But it's not, again, like religion is just like a man-made word. It's like a phonetic sound that one of us thousands of years made up, and now we're calling it religion. But it's basically like we're using one super dense word to try and explain something that can hardly be explained and put into words. And linking that to the topic of this live stream, beauty and all these things, it's like, once you have seen that there's so much out there than just getting a job, finding a partner, having kids, looking for decoration paper for the Christmas gifts, and spending 2 hours a week shopping online and figuring out if your shoes are matching your pants, like all these silly things that we focus on so much these days. Like, once you figure out that we are just constantly, it's like, we are trying to discover the ocean looking through a straw somehow,
Yes,
and
so true.
Exactly. And half of that straw is filled with like beauty and being attractive and being desirable. And I think that's also a beautiful conclusion, is like, once you figure out that none of this shit really matters, like the beauty stuff and looking hot and having strangers validate you by giving you likes and compliments, the question just becomes irrelevant. The whole question of how am I attractive? If I put my hands like this, if I put my shoulders like this, like, it's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, it's like, it's so silly once you've seen like a glimpse of the bigger picture, not even the bigger picture, but it's kind of like, it's almost as if we are in a room, right? We're in a room in a hotel, and that room is our universe and our consciousness and our daily reality.
Yeah.
And we are convinced that there's nothing more than that room, but there's 300 more rooms in that hotel, and the room next door, they're playing loud music and there's a song playing, and it's like the wall is blocking us from actually hearing the song, but we can still make up enough of the song to hear, like, that we can still catch the general vibe or the melody of the song. It's just that it's being blocked by a wall, and we just need to get out of this silly room where we have been conditioned in the last 50, 60 years to look a certain way, because then we can attract somebody. Like, being beautiful in itself, it doesn't even exist. Like, they should change the term by being conforming to certain sexual and physical ideals that people will then consider, attractive. And let's not forget, like, it's impossible to stay with a person, even in a relationship, if they don't match with you on a different level. Like, actually, it's so backwards, it's so silly. And this is where I think we need to break free from our biological connection to animals. Like, we are still very animalistic in the sense that we are looking for the fellow birds with the colorful feathers, like that is still, like, we're still not looking beyond that. We have evolved in so many ways. We have so many great ideas, and we've had so many great thinkers and writers and musicians and artists. But at the end of the day, like, men are still concerned about how big their bicep looks. And I'm definitely, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. I'm definitely, I fall victim to that mentality myself. And women are still obsessed about how small their waist is, and how big certain shapes have to be. It's like we are just constantly shooting ourselves in the foot and making basically like a conscious choice to continue living a low level like reality and lifestyle, when we know there's something more. It's reachable, we can do something more. But at the end of the day, we just always settle for the microwave food when we could be having a buffet, and we choose to watch content on body language and how to. If you tell girls something negative, then they're going to think you're interesting because they're used to positive compliments. So when you say something negative, you are different from the other men, and people swear by this type of things of like deceiving each other to get what, really, to get sex, to get 14 minutes of relative pleasure, if even that. And it's just, I think this is like the biggest challenge, I think, for people like you and me. And this is something that I also aim to kind of like put out there in the world, to working together with you. I think there's so many things we can talk about, and so many people that we can just kind of like show that there is a different way of living and being.
Totally. Thank you. And I just don't want the misconception of us sharing the message that it doesn't work or it doesn't matter. I want us to see that in the moment where I go up and I see my body down there, I realize, oh, I'm still existing. That means I'm not that body. But the fact that I have it, that I have the opportunity to have a body, means that I can play with it, that I can take care of it. It's like you have this vehicle that can take you to so many places. So take care of it, because it's a gift. It does not define you. It is not who you are. But yes, it is a tool that you can use in a very playful and fun way to interact with others, to like just put kind of like in a language that other people can understand what is it that you have in your essence. And it is a way that you can experience with others. There's a very beautiful guru called Ramdas, that he shares a story where he says, like, so why, if we're light and love and we're energy that can have all the possibilities, why is it that we get into a body which feels like a trap, which feels like a jail? And then he shares that the spiritual guide he had in that moment, answered like, so if you were just an spirit, how would a chocolate ice cream taste? You wouldn't know, because that's what your body allows you to do. If you were just this soul, how would you feel the skin of somebody else? How would you feel a hug, a kiss? How would you feel you jumping? How would you smell the flowers? It is this vehicle so that we can experience the universe. And the more you take care of it, the better it will function, so that you can experience and enjoy everything that's out there for you. So that you're soul can experience that. That's why you decided to have a body, and it's just exciting and beautiful for you to use it in for your best.
Exactly. And I think that, like you said, like our body is like a vehicle, like a space shuttle to our soul. It's like a converter. Like you said, it allows us to experience earthly pleasures in a sense. You
Mhm.
know, it is like a converter between our spirit and the earthly things. But then at the same time, it's also, people are focused, and our cultures are so focused, all of us, on constantly numbing our senses and numbing our body through alcohol, through spending the majority of their life watching sports and being distracted by beautiful distractions and things like that. And by smoking cigarettes, by taking other drugs, it's like we are constantly trying to make that tool less sharp, less sensitive, because I think we associate being sensitive and feeling that there's more out there and having those antennas of our body really picking up on all those different frequencies. We associate that often, I think, with anxiety, with overthinking, and just with awkwardness and not being happy. And often it is said that the people who think the least are usually the happiest. Like most people that I know who identify as overthinkers, they often are, they have a harder reality because we have so many questions. So I think the goal is to be both, keep those antennas sharp and sensitive, but at the same time, don't become crippled under the weight of not knowing, and don't become intimidated by the fact that it is too much for us to even probably understand all one day. But it
Yes,
doesn't mean that we can't try.
the things that you know, there's no need to understand them.
The things that
Understanding
you
is
know,
just understanding is just like giving yourself, like supporting and giving yourself the reasons why you should believe that. And that means that there is still questioning, that there's still doubt about those things. The things that you know, the things that just breathing, it's something that you know that keeps you alive. Connect with those truths, with the things that you just know and you can't question it. You can't understand how the body works, but you just know that your breath keeps you alive. So that those are the truths that you can connect with, and that is going to allow you to go back to your best. I don't know if you
absolutely.
have like another question, or like how are we doing in time?
I think this is a good time to start wrapping it up. I think we have more than 1 hour and 15 minutes already. So this is going to be a lot for the people who are going to watch this later. So I was
Yeah.
just going to say, we are on the same wavelength. I was gonna propose the same. So Elizabeth, on behalf of myself and all the people watching this and following my channel, I would like to thank you so much for joining me and us today to share your wisdom, your light, your perspective, and all the beautiful things that you have said. I'm sure you're gonna be the tinder that lights the fire in many people's change after watching this. So thank you so much for being here today.
Precioso, thanks to you. Thank you. Thank you also for sharing your wisdom, your life, for being approved of how much you own yourself, how much you enjoy being in your body. And the day I actually like just to close, we met for the people that's watching. We met in a festival in Barcelona, dancing, and I can share with you how much I saw you enjoying yourself, like being so present in that place with the music, with everything around you, that it was super easy for you to connect with everyone there. Like you had a ton of people around you, you were just like creating all these beautiful connections. And it is you having so much fun with yourself that is like, oh, that seems like a great person to be around. And so you can attract others. And I'm very grateful that we connected and that we're still connecting, and now that we can share a message that hopefully will help someone to gain a different perspective.
Absolutely, Elizabeth. Those are beautiful words, and I'm not going to try to top those because it's going to be impossible. So, once again, thank you. And for all the people watching this live right now, go ahead and if you're watching this later, which I'm sure many of you will, comment below any questions that you would like me and Elizabeth to tackle in future live sessions, as we intend on doing a couple more of these. So anything that you would like her to let her light shine on and me chime in on, we can discuss that. So once again, thank you all of you. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this discussion. And I wish you all a beautiful, beautiful rest of your Wednesday day and rest of your Wednesday day, rest of your Wednesday. All right, it is time to wrap it up because I'm starting to mix things up. Wish you all a beautiful week. So
Yeah,
thank you for
thank you.
watching. Thank you, Elizabeth.